All right. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We got some awesome content today from I just barely met Elise only a few weeks ago, but I've been super excited because her content, there's two reasons I like to bring guests on. And before I bring Elise in, one, Elise knows how to use LinkedIn really, really well. And she connected with me, and I get a lot of people trying to connect with me, but she did it in a different way. And I think that's important for you to learn and see and understand for yourself, because we're always talking about LinkedIn. But also her coaching, what she does to help you with mindset. And I think a problem we struggle with is working so much. I'm actually in Florida right now. She's just south of me in Miami. But I took 2 days, long weekend with my wife to come down to Florida. So you can see the water behind me. So I finally, this is hard for me because I'm still working. I just got off a conference call with a client. So I'm trying to wrap up what I can today, but I wanted to make sure we kept these consistent because the topic today is all about this. Like, how do you find work-life balance? I know some of you definitely have some things going on, and I want to just make sure that you're effective in your work and that you're also, having the time you need with your family. So with that, let's kick it over to Elise. Elise, tell us a little bit about you, kind of your quick background, and then what you're doing now, and we'll get into a conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jake, for that introduction. His view is better than mine is right now, so I'm also jealous. Yeah, like you said, we connected on LinkedIn. I am a mental health and mindset coach, primarily focused on, entrepreneurs, business owners, because as he stated, a lot of us deal with workaholism, mental fatigue. We don't know how to find a balance because everything is always so chaotic, right? You're jumping from one thing to another. You're always learning. And usually if you are a business person or an entrepreneur, it's driven from a lack of something, right? You're trying to have something that you never had before. You're trying to create a better life for your family. And so there's a lot of different factors that can keep you from having like a quote unquote work-life balance. So that's primarily what I help people with that was specifically to, workaholism, but anything with mindset or anything subconscious trauma. And so if anyone has any
into that a little bit, like your big focus is like subconscious, like trauma, things in the past. Like, tell us more about what that really means, because I'm curious to learn more. And I think all of us, we all have our own backgrounds and things that have happened, and like, but a lot of ways they form kind of who we become. And so is that kind of what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So subconscious trauma is the stuff that has affected us now that we don't even realize, right? And that's all of us, because we grow up as children and we just adapt to our environments, right? We're just victims to whoever raises us or whatever their beliefs are. And unless you consciously choose to question those beliefs or ideals, that's just how you see the world. But you don't realize when you're an adult how some of those punishments or expectations or beliefs could negatively affect you. You just think, oh, that's just the way I am. So I help people find those little gaps, and we eliminate those beliefs and place new ones there. And so, because a lot of people think of trauma as just, car accidents, murder. I was abused or molested, and those things are very traumatic, but they're not the only things. Growing up as a minority, growing up with really strict parents, growing up with conservative parents, growing up in a religious household, all of those things can leave traumatic effects because they shape who you are in a psychological way.
Yeah, I can definitely, one that I relate to, we grew up with like one crappy car my whole life, like as a kid, and I hated it. Like, we were always fixing it. My dad was miserable mood because of it. And now, like, I lease my cars. I will never work on a car. Like, even though I could and know how, like, and I changed my own oil a lot of times. That's one thing that shifted like what I do. And now my kids don't even understand like how nice they have it. There's one little simple example, but there's other ones that are obviously more deep and more meaningful. But you're totally right. In different cultures, different parts of the country that we all come from, that's, I think, what's so fun about the club is we have people from all over, back east, central, like everybody is doing the same thing, but in a different area and a different whole mentality around it. So,
right. Yeah. Well, and then just diving into your own, trauma or your own beliefs, you can understand the world and other people so much better, right? Because you understand, oh, I grew up like this, and that's what my defenses are. This is what my attachment styles are. but that's how, they might not understand my perspective, because all we see the world is like a very selfish viewpoint, right? Like, what am I doing? What can I get out of it? Oh, they hurt me. But we just don't understand that everybody's thinking like that. So we're all operating out of our own solo bubble. But the more you know that bubble, the better your relationships are going to be, the better your goals are going to turn out.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think people notice that. Our clients notice that when our actual intentions are right. And instead, most of our industry is very selfish. But that's how most people operate. Like, what's in it for me? And so,
right.
how do we develop a better mindset and like a better balance of not giving so much? Because that's one thing I get caught a lot. I give too much and people take advantage of it, right? And to the point I'm like, I gotta like kind of protect my time a little bit more, or whatever it might be. How do you find that balance and still be genuine?
Right. Well, everybody talks about balance and everything, right? But they don't talk about the fundamentals. Like you just said, I give a lot and then people kind of take advantage. So my question to you is, what are your boundaries like? Do you have boundaries? And, because sometimes we don't even learn to grow up with boundaries because we're taught that you need to do everything for everyone else, right? So, like examining yourself, what are your boundaries like? Do you have clear-cut boundaries?
Right. Well, and I think too, along with that whole comment is we, as 4K, I think we try to do too much ourselves. I'm guilty of that. I know a few of you are in the club where we're the ones prospecting, we're the ones taking care of our clients, and it's so hard to grow a practice because we try to do all of it and become workaholics, and it's like we don't develop processes and have enough trust in others to do and fail, quite frankly, on their own, even though because we think it's tied to our reputation. So is that kind of like how do we help people not be that go down that path? How do we help? Is that kind of more in line with what you coach people through as well?
Right. I mean, so we have to kind of dive back to the basics, like it's different for every individual, but like in this specific scenario, right, we go back to what is our need to have to do everything, right? Is it because we don't trust other people? Is it because we feel like we want to be in control of everything? Or did we just become overwhelmed because all of a sudden it grew really fast and we just don't know where to get help or where to start? Because each of those things are going to have a different starting point. If you need to be in control of everything, it's kind of like, where is that coming from? Because it comes from, like fear of failure. Like I can't let anyone see me fail. And that's like what a lot of men experience is they're relied upon to support the system and to have a good job and to be successful at a certain point. And if you're not, well, then you're looked upon negatively by society, so that's what drives a lot of workaholism, because people don't want to feel like they're a failure, they're a loser.
So what do we do about that? Because like I see that all the time. I find that even in my own life, because I have 5 kids at home. I don't know if we talked about this. I have 5 kids home. It's busy every night, and I try to do so much work, and it's hard for me to shift gears. Like I'm all into work, and if I could stay and work just like 5 days straight, day and night, like I would like that. But I also want to have some time with my kids. So I'm not in that 9 to 5 model anymore. But that's kind of what my wife expects too. It's like, oh, 5 o'clock, turn off my work brain and just show up. And sometimes I can't do that.
Right.
What do we do?
And so you own your business, right?
Yeah. I mean, kind of. I'm an employee of a bigger firm, but I own the 401 Club, and I do a lot of that work at night and a lot of work outside of my normal day-to-day work with my 401k clients. So I'm a little bit different than the group inside the club because they're mostly working on their book of business, growing their clients.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple things there. It's assessing, your goals, where you are, where you want to be, and like also your support system. And this comes back down to communication, like setting those boundaries kind of like with you and your wife, but also talk track, like what are your expectations of me, with your wife, like what are your expectations of me? And then assessing your own drive, like this is why I want to work so much, but you also have to factor in like, if I want to keep my family time as a priority, how much dedicated time do I need to that every day or every night? So it's about managing time, setting boundaries, and having clear communication. That's as simple as I can get it, or else I would just drive it back to, like into your own needs of like, why do you feel the need to work so much? What are you trying to prove to yourself? Because once you can kind of analyze that, you can scale it back to find more balance. Because you clearly love what you do. So sometimes it's just about, I love what I do and I'm just doing it, going.
Yeah.
But at that point, you see, like, what am I wasting time on that, I can just hire somebody else to do, and letting go a little bit of that control, and knowing that that's just going to serve you better in the future. Because I'm sure that there's some time that you're wasting on things right now that you don't need to be doing.
We all do.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of letting go of the ego, like what can I parse out and trust somebody else to do? And just making sure communication is there, because if your wife expects you to be done at 5, but you're like, it would work for me better to be done at 7, then that's a talk track, right? And then both your expectations are met. The stress from her is gone, but she's also having her needs satisfied. And then you're like, okay, I'm still getting, a good amount of work done. I have to scale it back, but maybe you'll be more effective in those 2 hours, right?
Right. So when someone comes to you for coaching and asks for help, what's kind of the process you take them through? Like, is it so unique every single time? Or do you kind of have a structure that you would help someone just develop a better work-life kind of control, or how they think through all the things they've got to get done?
I'm developing more of a basic kind of course outline where it's talking about, assessing your needs, your wounds, and how to kind of address all those things, along with self-regulation tools. But for my clients one-on-one, since it is more of like a therapeutic relationship, it's like therapy/coaching type scenario. It is quite dependent upon your needs, because I'll dive into your specific needs, but it's, assessing where we're at, where we want to go. So like our expectations, like what do we actually feel like we want to heal? And then, just going from there and building out the guide from there.
So one way I think that what you do relates really well to our world, our 401k world, is we deal with a lot of executive teams and a lot of like decision makers in companies, and that's a really important part of selling. And then we promise the world as far as coming in and helping all the employees. And what I find, especially the way that I operate our business, is I try to do a quick meeting, short to the point. Here's how your plan works. Here's the advantage. And then we set aside time for one-on-ones. And it's been different with COVID through Zoom and stuff. But we sit down with individual employees, and it's a variety of people that sometimes have, everything in a line. They know what they're doing. They have very specific questions. And some, it gets into like, my marriage fell apart and I got this problem, and I like they have no hope whatsoever. And I find myself in a situation not really talking about money, and that's always interesting to me. And I try to do my best, and I'm very empathetic towards them, but sometimes like I don't know where the boundary is of like, as a 401k advisor, how to manage those conversations sometimes. I don't know if anyone else in the group has experiences like that, but I have them all the time. And I almost want to like just like really develop a deep relationship with them and help them and coach them like through all these little things. But then I don't have the time. I do that with every participant. I'm never going to be able to grow my business. So I don't know. What are your thoughts there? When someone comes to you, obviously you're not knowing what the real problems are up front. Usually I would think you have to dig a little deeper and then start to uncover things. How do we do that? What should we do to prepare ourselves better for those situations?
Right. But our situations are different, right? Because that is my niche, and people go to me right away with intention to release all that. But in your position, any one-on-one service provider that you have, so like you having one-on-one session with someone, personal trainers, hairstylists, they tend to find that people just dump stuff into them, and it's because of proximity. And the fact that it's not a pressurized situation where they have to do that. So, it's not something that you can necessarily avoid, but because there's such a stigma around mental health and actually talking about those issues, people tend to avoid going to that, but they'll go to someone like, anyone who will actually listen.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to help them, but you don't have the tools or the time, I do recommend just suggesting that they see X person because they're an expert in that field. You know what? I appreciate you telling me about this. I would love to help you. I don't have the tools. This is a person who I recommend to anyone who is doing X, whether that's a therapist or whether that's a coach, because you are helping them. the best way you can by doing that, because you don't have the tools, you don't have the time, even if you have, you know, some experiences. And the best way you can help them is by doing the 401k, right? So it's like, I wouldn't train anyone on 401k. I'd be like, you know, I'm sorry, this isn't my area of expertise. You got to go see this guy.
Yeah.
You know, so for anyone who is like a one-on-one service provider will go through that if they're not like even mental health, because people are so desperate for, you know, to be seen, heard, and understood.
It's true. Yeah, you find it everywhere. And you're right. If you'll listen, like they're gonna keep telling you. So yeah, setting those expectations right. And then maybe knowing if you're this is a good conversation to have, you know, as a 401k advisor, make sure you know the benefits side, know what their employee assistance program looks like. And so you can kind of introduce those other coaches. But a lot of times, you know, you got yourself caught in this situation where they just want to tell you. So
right. And you just kind of have to, you know, that's when you kind of do assert your boundaries, like, hey, you know, like sometimes you got to kind of cut people off, right? Because they'll just go on a tangent and you're like, oh my gosh, it's been like 40 minutes already. I'm listening to this, you know, because I used to work, you know, like working in tech sales, people do that too. So it's kind of like, okay, you know, I understand, like, let me just clarify what they've said. You know, I appreciate you telling me this, but I actually don't have the tools, or, you know, like, you know, reel it back in and redirect them and then get back on track. You are in charge of taking control of the conversation. That's just also in sales, right? You have to be in control of the conversation. Don't let the client ever take control. You know, make sure it's guided.
Yeah, I think Matt Jackson here, he's good at that. We talked about that a few times, where his sales approach is very structured, and he comes very, I like to come prepared, but I like to have it more open discussion. So everybody has their own kind of technique, but you're right. If you lose control of it, it can go a completely different path really fast.
Right. Well, I know I said I didn't have like a very structured call, but you know, it's like a 15-minute sales call, but I say, tell me about your needs. I recap their needs, and then I say, okay, this is how I work with clients one-on-one. You know, it is a sales call, because if I can't sell you, I can't help you.
Yeah.
You know, so you always got to be thinking in terms of, you know, like the structure and the end point, right? How can you help them?
Right. And that help is valuable to them, that they should pay you to help them with the things you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So tell me, is there any? Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, like, is there a story of that you can take us through where that would help kind of apply some things, some quick takeaways that we can each try? Like, so one right now, I'll give you just what I'm going through personally with our trying to grow our business. I'm trying to hire someone. I just got off a call before the conference call with the client with interviewing somebody that was interested in the position, because I'm trying to have someone, I'm kind of replicate my service side that I do, so I can keep bringing in new business. And it's fascinating, the people I'm talking to. I mean, just like all over the map as far as who's looking for this job. And so I'm struggling with it, because I'm like, I want to get a really talented person, but I also want to have somebody that I can kind of mentor a little bit, not someone that has all this experience in 401ks that's just going to come and do it the old way, because I don't do it the old way. I do it a more modern approach. So for me, I'm like, I want the best of the best, but yet it's hard to find that balance of giving up that relationship that I have with all the clients to this new person. Like, maybe give us some examples of things that we can each do to really take back our time and manage situations like that, where it is me I just have to let go. Like, what is it I need to just try?
Right. Well, I think I'm like a little confused at what you're asking. So right now you're trying to find someone, but either they're so experienced in 401k that they don't have the kind of like mindset you're looking for, or they have the mindset but not experience in 401k, and you're afraid to let
like
the relationships go.
A close competitor, their head of operations just reached out to me. You know, he's like perfect, right? He could come in, hit the ground running in his own way, not necessarily the way that I want to coach him to. Or do I get somebody and like free up my time and like really train them and give them, you know, bring them up to speed, because they're not going to know 401k at all. That's struggling right now.
I mean, that depends on a few things. So it's like, what do you want? Have you actually written down exactly what you want in a person? And how are you trying to find them? Because he came to you. So, okay, that's good. You know, that people are searching for, you know, this position, but ultimately you're the boss. Don't let outside factors control and be your only option. You create the options.
Yeah.
You know, so like it's possible to have both. You can have someone with 401k experience and energy, but you have to find that person. And that takes a little bit of time and energy. Or you prioritize what's more important for my clients. Is it the mindset or is it the 401k? Or which one can I train easier? Because 401k can be taught and learned, right?
Yeah.
But changing someone's mindset is much more difficult.
So how do we identify that mindset with somebody?
Well, you find someone like you, right? You want someone like you.
Yeah. Yeah. I want someone that's going to take ownership of it. Doesn't need to have somebody tell them what to do. So that's kind of where I'm looking for, but it's hard to identify that in a very short way.
Is it? Is it hard to identify somebody like yourself? When you meet someone, you can automatically read their energy. Tell me. Can you read their energy?
Yeah, you kind of can. Yeah.
So you can kind of tell, okay, this person, like, you know, and like, it's also like when you are fishing for this person, what does your advertisement look like? Is it all focused on 401k, but you're expecting energy? Or is it focused on, I want someone who's driven. I want someone who has a mindset that can adapt easily. I want someone who can be my main man. You know, like you're in control of that situation. So it takes you figuring out where you hang out, right? If you're trying to find a replica of yourself, like where would I find myself? Are they watching YouTube videos that are motivating? Are they in Facebook groups? Are they in 401k groups?
Yeah, that's why you should network, I guess, with those kind of groups of people. Because this, honestly, this is what I think a lot of our club members, we have a variety of advisors that are just kind of running their own thing, or they're part of a firm. They're just like me. They're siloed on one side of the business doing just 401k. And you do so many things in the 401k world that it's so hard to maintain enough high level service. But then that next step to adding another person is like such a stretch. And I think a lot of us struggle and take it too long before we get somebody in there. The same with, we have a lot of wholesalers that sell us basically administration. So they struggle with just building relationships with us because we're the ones out selling for them. And so that to me is one of the biggest things, is we just don't expand fast enough our teams to support us. So we become workaholics and we just give away all of our time in hopes of that next plan, because every business we see, we're like, ooh, that's another 401k. I want to go find out who does that one.
Right.
And for too long, that happens till eventually, like, we either implode or we leave the industry altogether, you know, and that's what I'm trying to change and make a movement for, is developing a better mindset to give work away earlier so you can be best at what you do and not screw your whole life up.
Right. So I mean that means you have to take a chance on someone or multiple people and say, hey, this is a trial period. And it's you know, when you get advice to implementation, how fast do you implement? How fast do you act? When somebody goes to your website and enters into the sales form, do you leave it sitting for days, or do you try to call them as fast as you can? You know, like that's the difference between getting the sale and leaving it dry. And that's the difference between expanding your business quickly or, you know, waiting until you have the perfect person. But then, like you said, you're picking up all the work, you're getting burnt out, and then you have no energy left to, you know, make moves.
Yeah. That's honestly, I see it all the time, and where they don't get enough revenue coming in. And so they can't get that help. And it's just this churn, like push, and become so desperate to get a plan, they'll take any plan at all. And the crappiest plan that just pays nothing, that takes all their time, just ruins the whole thing. This is common in our industry. And that's why there's not like a real good like infrastructure to train and bring people in, because we're just trying to do it as one person all the time. So sorry, this went way deeper than I was planning to talk to you about.
No, that's okay. And well, another thing with like hiring people too, is you have to understand that where we are moving into is a very, you know, it's like we said, like self-fulfilling. And people know that the way that businesses work, you didn't care about the individual, right? They care about numbers. They care about how much you're going to do for the company. So they take advantage of their employees. Nobody really wants to be an employee anymore for that specific reason.
Yeah.
So if you are hiring someone, you have to remember, you know, like they're working for you, but you are working for them, you know, like what's in it for them, and invest in them and make them feel like they belong and like they're heard and seen. And like someone in the chat said, it's about setting boundaries with your employer as well. So it's really important that we start, seeing people as not just the help, but also a human who has their own needs and goals. And so investing in that, you can really see how that makes a difference in what you're doing. Like you're working for a company, but you're also doing your own thing. Like if that company starts just shitting on you, you're really going to be like, all right, well, I've got a lot of other stuff that I could do at some point, right?
Yeah, we're all valuable in our own way. And that's what I think our culture is starting to understand is you don't need a company to make yourself valuable.
Right.
Got a plane going by. Yeah, and I think even in a couple of people I've talked to, this is definitely becoming the trend is people are seeing, that they can provide a lot more than just someone in a seat. And that's what I'm trying to tell them. I'm all for that. You have a side hustle? Cool. I want to support you in that. But we need to build this up too, which could enhance what you're doing over there. And that's a definite shift, I think, in younger demographics that I'm finding. So
right.
Knowing what motivates them.
Right. But people do want to be a part of something though, right? Yeah. Because even I ended up I have another tech job, but I joined it specifically because the company is letting me do my own business. They support the content that I put out, even though it's completely different from the company. And, the doing that is giving me another vehicle for attention and just working with a team again. Because as being a solo business owner, you can get really lonely because you're like doing all this work. And even though you're doing it for clients like they can be your friend, but they're not like, someone who you're like, hey, like I'm gonna.
It doesn't go two ways. They want you to help from you. They're paying you to help them.
Yeah. Exactly. So you have to be on. So it can get like, you're like stressed. You don't have anyone on your team. So people do want to be part of teams. They do want to work with people, but they just want people to care about them also.
Yeah. And that's kind of what this whole forum club is about. Honestly, like it's to win more plans is number one goal, but a lot of us are doing it by ourselves because we have to just keep grinding to get to the point where we could hire somebody. But now we have a community to be a part of and learn from each other. So that's kind of the whole concept in a quick sentence. But yeah,
that's awesome. And it seems like you've got a few people who are really dedicated to, being involved and moving forward. And, as long as you've got that energy, your team can hold you up.
Yeah, well, that's true. And that's why I'm trying to keep that momentum with all of us going because everybody put a bunch of work in the 401k space on hold for 2020. Now it's all the effort in the first part of this year because people have set a goal internally at companies. We're going to fix our 401k this year. Or maybe it was last year and it got pushed to 2021. So the work to put out content now, like you do on LinkedIn and everywhere else, is exactly what I'm trying to coach everybody here to do and to see more of it. And I'm starting to see it. We're starting to see, Sean in the club, he's putting some stuff out. Matt puts videos out. We got to get Mike to put some out. Mike and Sal put up. But once they start to put videos out, it just creates someone can find you and see you and get to know you. That's how I met you, right? It's the same whole thing in other industries that we need to bring to ours. So
yeah,
everyone here, make sure you follow Elise. You can see her content because I think it's really, really good and it's very to the point and sharp, and I like that a lot. So connect with her. I don't want to be mindful of everyone's time too.
Thanks, guys.
So Elise, anything else you want to add to it? I know I threw more out to you today than we even thought about, but appreciate you.
No worries. It gets me hyped up. Like I love seeing if I want to know if anybody in the chat has any questions. But I know that you also.
If anyone has questions, you unmute yourself. Jump in. We have Elise. If you want to ask her anything, I know she has a webinar tomorrow. She's doing, so you can check that out too. It'll be on her LinkedIn or somewhere. How do they find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all social medias, but LinkedIn is where I post basically all of my content. You can reach me via DM. And for anybody who's nervous about doing video is like my main content. I used to coach people on doing video for LinkedIn. So I would just say like, don't be nervous because you feel like you need a whole setup, you need a whole script, you need to have the right story. People are going to come to you for who you are because everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has different things going on in their lives. And your life, wherever you're at, if you're like a dad with 3 kids or like Jake, you have like 5 kids, people like snapshots of that because it's just reality, they're at home. So people who are in that same position are going to relate to you, so I would say just like, it's a lot easier than you think. be honest and
Find your voice and just put it out there. Like,
yeah.
like you see me all the time. I'll put videos out of just me on my bike, whatever. Like, that's who I am. I'm not gonna hide from it. I'm gonna go. I got on a call with a client like this, and I said, look, I'm in Florida with my wife, but I'm on this call with you because I'm dedicated to helping you. But I gotta run, like, but I'm here. You know what I mean? And then they relate better because they get to know me better. So it doesn't have to be some big, deep, long form video like I do once a week. It can be anything. So.
Right. And people just don't have the attention span anyway. So you could use, you know, a whole giant long script, but that's why I try to keep it short because I know people are scrolling and they just want the lesson real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So find Elise, get to know her, make some content, fix your mindset. Like, let's make sure we have balance this year. I know COVID makes it hard to travel, and whatever that balance is, just don't work so much that you lose what is most important to you. So that's my only advice today. I want everybody to make sure that you're doing the same. Thank you so much, Elise. I'm really excited to get to know more that you do. I'll try to chime in on the webinar. I don't know where I'll be tomorrow.
No, dude, don't even come to the webinars. Go on vacation. You're going to the beach. You can get the replay if you want.
We'll be in the water very soon. But
awesome.
Yes. Okay, thanks everybody.
All right, thanks, Jake.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.